Greetings to all you stargazers out there. I'm Judith Royal, and I'm an archetypal astrologer, and I'm here to talk to you, well, first of all, about the big kickoff for the month of September 2021, which is the new moon in Virgo on September 6th. That will be at 5:52 Pacific time, p.m., and this is the kickoff because Virgo is the astrological sign for the harvest. It's that time of year, right before the fall equinox, when we are looking at all the things that we planted since spring, since Aries, and now we're harvesting them, not quite yet ready to take them to the marketplace. But this new moon is particularly eventful because it does fall exactly on Labor Day. It's also Rosh Hashanah, the first of the high holy days in the Jewish faith. And there is so much going on at the time of this new moon that you really want to be paying attention and vigilant about setting your intentions, because in a way we have a whole new ball game starting here. I gave it a title, well, I guess it's kind of a little bit frivolous, but I think true, that altogether I called it Love Potion Number 9. I'm old enough to remember that rock and roll song from years ago. But the reason I say that is because there are so many ingredients here that could go into a love potion. So first of all, there is a Venus aspect. Venus is now in the sign of Libra. And as of August 30th, Mercury is also in the sign of Libra. They're kind of traveling together, especially for the new moon. And Venus has got a little bit of a challenge from the Lord of the Underworld. So what is that going to be? You can look for some sort of serendipitous encounter with someone that, or something, a fact or whatever, event, that interrupts the apparent calm that you have been enjoying in a love relationship. And why does it interrupt? Because this is a energy of some passion surfacing in a very unconstrained way. In other words, a burst of passionate feelings coming from this Venus and Libra, who would really rather have things, calm, no conflict, etc. So it's going to push that sometimes unconscious button for us, where we will bend over backwards in order to keep the peace in a relationship, and we disguise that sometimes as diplomacy or being cooperative, but that is not going to work now. That's an old way of dealing with the passions that need to be juicy and out on the table in a relationship, because otherwise it's just dries up and is brittle. Who wants that? Nobody. So another ingredient in this comes, of course, from the moon and the sun at 14 degrees Virgo, because sitting next to the moon is Mars, who is right now in Virgo. And there is a sort of an ancient remedy, an ancient healing remedy that you can right now harvest for your own use. Now, herbs could be part of that, but that's really not what I'm referring to. I'm referring more to the way in which your ancestors handled their goods, their what they harvest, and that's not only like vegetables, grains, and so forth. We're harvesting the project that we began back in the spring. And so you have a memory. We all have ancestral memory encoded in our DNA, right? So you do have a memory of solutions to your current problems, especially in your work or your project, that you can avail yourself of. And of course, like any other time, this new moon is a call to stop and experience, to stop and think, to stop and decide where you are in your life, and are you on the track you want to be on? Because the new moon is the new beginning. Another ingredient for it that is why I think there's the possibility of a love potion is Neptune. And for this new moon, Neptune is throwing a little fog over the future for us. In other words, it will be a little difficult now to see far ahead. So just live with that instead of projecting some outcome in the future that you really are uncertain about, because right now you can't be certain. That's just the way it is. So this Neptune dreamy fog that obscures the future has a beautiful gift if you choose to work with it. And that is, because you can see, for example, only 1 foot ahead of you, then it's the calling to live in the present moment, to live in the now, is very strong and is, of course, your solution. And what's the Buddhist saying? I can only see 1 foot in front of myself, but I can make the whole journey that way. And in fact, right now, that's an excellent way to live life, 1 day at a time, 1 hour at a time. And the Neptune fog is going to encourage us to do that. So trust your daydreams. Notice your night dreams, because Neptune speaks to us in metaphor, in poetry, in song. So that's where you can tune your listening. Then on the 7th, the very day after the Virgo new moon, things do not settle down, not at all, because we have surprises that rolled in with that Virgo new moon, because the god of lightning is now in the sign of Taurus, making really kind of a harmonious surprise party for all of us. And what do we do with a surprise, which Virgo, is earth sign. So just like you Taurus and Capricorns, doesn't really love surprises, does not love the quick, out of the blue ones that the god of lightning delivers. However, what's meant to happen here is to blast us out of a rut. And that rut is about our values. So any rut that you have been in about, and let's say you're holding a value that is unexamined. You just sort of grew up with it and you just drug it along with you into your adult life without really saying, now, wait a minute, does it fit me now? So we get a lot of energy in the beginning of September for you to question that, because you're meant to question that. And also this Virgo moon, that is still a Virgo moon on the 7th, is making a lovely trine to Pluto in Capricorn. So now we have Uranus in Taurus Earth, we have the moon and the sun and Mars in Virgo Earth, and we have Pluto still hanging out in the Capricorn sign that last year, January of 2020, was the meetup for our new 500-year cycle. So Pluto is still only 2 degrees in all this time, and is at the time of this new moon and the day after especially, making a lovely trine to all the Virgo as well as the Taurus, god of lightning. And that's what we call a double grand trine. And so whatever, it eases the tension of making a change. So what would keep an earth sign from making a needed change? Well, it's the fear of insecurity, the fear that it won't be safe. But see, we're here now to redefine what those words actually mean for us. Because safety can no longer mean any version of isolation, right? And security, well, economic security is not easy to come by these days. And yet we're not meant to go into the rest of life feeling anxious and insecure. No, certainly not. What's truly meant to happen is for us to not just value, but rely on the power of love. So that brings me back to something I mentioned earlier, which is that right now, as of August 30th, the messenger planet, the planet whose vibes are about communication and how you think, is also in the sign of relationship-oriented Libra, along with Venus. Now, Mercury being in Libra is a really big deal coming up, not just for September, but through all of October, because Mercury is going to go retrograde in the sign of Libra, and I'm going to tell you more about that next time. But for now, what you want to know is that we are here in September at the beginning of an extraordinary 10-week stay of Mercury in Libra. And what that means for you is that love is in the air. And so are your relationships. But what I mean by that is your thinking and your communications now for 2 months are primarily concerned with intimate relationships. You want them to run smoothly, and you'll have a tendency, as I mentioned before, to try to avoid conflict by smoothing something over. But remember, don't do it, because what we're going for is intimacy. I heard that someone recently say, "Into me, see." And it is all about how we see things and our perception. Remember, the big shift that we're in now was the call away from the body's eyes as what we rely on to know what's happening, because, we're terrible eyewitnesses. And what we've been called to is vision, the kind of 20/20 vision that Capricorn mountain goat has as he stands at the top of K2. And I think that means we're invited to see the light beyond, no matter what the situation, no matter the person. So in Libra, if you have been sort of grinning and bearing it in some relationship, that relationship may become unbearable during these 10 weeks. But remember, love is in the air, and that is very much Libra. And with Mercury in Libra, we have a beautiful invitation to see only love. And you're challenged to do that, while at the same time, you're going to have an intense curiosity about the thinking and the behavior patterns of yourself in relationships and others in relationship to you. Libra is an intellect sign, along with Gemini and Aquarius. And in Libra, of course, it's focused on your relationships. So you might be drawn to some brand new ways to understand rather than Libra's lazy default, which is to just be bending over backwards at all costs to yourself to try to please everybody. But I promise you, during this Mercury in Libra 10 weeks, there is going to be a light shining on these very questions. And on the 20th of September, we have the moon giving us the bigger illumination. So the full moon on September 20th will be in the sign of compassionate Pisces. And it is really going to be a beautiful opportunity for you to practice vertical thinking, being in the here and now, and asking from your soul, from your higher power, for answers, rather than certainly rather than relying on past experiences, but rather embracing the fact that our thoughts are what heals us. And this full moon will have a challenge, really a test of faith, because we're meant to really utilize our wisdom, our divine perception, and to tune in through our intuition, our lunar sonar, and know that all minds are joined. We actually do read each other's minds. And that is not frightening. That is very good news. Because how could you have better communication with someone you love than that? On the 20th, your empathic sensitivity to your own feelings, but also the feelings of those you are close to, is heightened, such that you can see your happy dreams, what you really would love to accomplish in this life right now. You can see that dream set free to rise really in the heat of your passion and your desire for it. And in that way, you manifest it. And the last trick to that is you must share that with another. We feel that shift in values, that nothing is worth anything unless it's shared. And I know you and I have the ability to see that love everywhere. So in closing, let me remind you that if you think you have a problem in a relationship, it's your perception of the problem that's the problem. Little tongue twister, but we're going to go further with this because we're going to have to deal with Messenger Mercury retrograde in Libra. So this is just the beginning. So if you'd like to get in touch with me for some individual work, you can email me at judith@judithroyal.com. I'll say goodbye for now.